I think what you're seeing is people quite rightly reminding everybody that this is, I'm afraid, what reform is. Now, there's many decent people vote for every political party, and there's many decent people who will vote for reform. But what we're trying to do is to remind people to make clear to people what it is that reform really is. Look, Nigel Farage owns this company, or sorry, he calls it a political party, but it's a company. He owns it, and he's clearly done almost no due diligence on who he's asking to carry his message.
Good morning, Mr. Tugendhat. Thank you for joining us.
Morning, how are you?
Yes, I'm well, thank you. More to the point, though, how are you? Alan Tolhurst just explaining to us there that you've got a bit of a battle on your hands to keep your seat on Thursday.
Well, we all do. That's what a general election is about, and I'm getting out there and asking for the support for people across the community. You know, there's a huge amount that we've done, from, you know, building the new medical centre, Memorial Health Centre in Edenbridge, investing in Tunbridge, and getting better connections from Borough Green. So there's an awful lot we've already done, but there's a lot more to do.
Yeah, and your majority last time out was nearly 27,000. I think there's been some boundary changes affecting the name of your constituency and sort of tweaking where you'll be standing. But it's so intriguing that a 27,000 majority is not considered solid.
Well, I think the reality is that every election that I stand, and every election I think that many of us stand in, we consider ourselves in a marginal, for the very simple reason that we've got to ask people for their support again going forward. You know, a vote is about the future. It's not about the past. And so I'm not sitting on my laurels. I'm not, you know, assuming anything. I'm out there talking to people, asking for support, because there's a huge amount we've got to do. And whether it's my 3 years empties plenty for the Beale store in Tunbridge and getting £20 million off Sainsbury's to invest in our community, or whether it's about improving medical centres across Kent, there's a huge amount that we've still got to do, and that's exactly what I'm focused on delivering.
I've read reports that you want to be the next Conservative Party leader. Is that right?
Well, what I want to do is to make sure we've got a Conservative leader in this country, and that's why I'm supporting Rishi Sunak, because the alternative with Keir Starmer, I'm afraid, is higher taxes, more regulation, worse growth, and more unemployment. What we need to do is to make sure that Conservatives across this country win their seats, and that's exactly what I've been focused on doing.
Understood, and I appreciate that. That's for the election. What about after the election? Do you want to be the next Conservative Party leader?
Well, I'm very much hoping that after the election, Rishi Sunak will be.
What if he's not?
Well, look, we'll deal with hypotheticals in a different way. I mean, the reality is Rishi Sunak is the candidate there's only two candidates for Prime Minister. There's Rishi Sunak and there's Sir Keir Starmer. One of them is committed to lowering your taxes, to protecting your borders, and to making a difference in everybody's lives. The other, I'm afraid, is Sir Keir Starmer, who is committed to raising your taxes, to making life a little bit harder for everybody, and to lecturing you on how to live your life.
Do you know what's intriguing at this stage of the campaign is that it's very difficult to get any of you to say something new. Why is that, Mr. Tugendhat? Have you run out of ideas?
No, because, look, all of us are making similar arguments, because the arguments we're making are to focus people's minds on what is the real choice. And, you know, a lot of debate around politics, and I know that it entertains you and it entertains other political journalists, is about the gotcha or the idea or the joke or whatever. But this isn't about that. This is about people's lives. Look, over the last few years, a lot of people have been forced to make some really difficult decisions in their family lives because energy prices have been high or because family circumstances have been difficult. Now, what I'm absolutely committed to doing is to making sure that we make a difference. And that's why Conservatives took the really difficult decisions like supporting people through COVID, or making sure that energy price spikes were modified or mellowed effectively by government support. Because this is what this is about. It's not about the gotcha games. It's not about the political games. It's about people's lives. And that's why, for me, this is all about making sure we remember that the choice is pretty fundamental. It's, do you want more regulation? Do you want greater intervention in your life? Do you want higher taxes with Sir Keir? Or do you want to take the plan that's working, that's bringing down inflation, that's seen the fastest growth in the G7, continue?
And as you'll know, Mr. Tugendhat, we go for conversation here rather than any gotchas. It's about learning things and trying to understand
things. But not everybody.
No, I appreciate that.
Honourable of you.
I do want to talk about Reform UK, especially because of Rishi Sunak's response to the canvasser that was filmed describing Rishi Sunak using a pretty strong racial slur, which I shan't be repeating, but which the Prime Minister did as he described his anger and indeed his hurt at the comment. And I actually saw this on Twitter, on X, from Steve Baker, who comments, "Fear of reform can be no excuse for tolerating racism." Better to lose than stay silent in the face of hate. And he was responding to another post which suggested that actually very few cabinet members had rallied around Rishi Sunak in the context of these comments. And that struck me, actually, that Steve Baker said that he felt he wanted to speak out against Reform UK rather than almost be scared of them. Is there a feeling of fear of Reform UK among Conservative colleagues?
No, I don't think there is. And I think what you're seeing is you're seeing people quite rightly reminding everybody that this is, I'm afraid, what reform is. Now, there's many decent people vote for every political party, and there's many decent people who will vote for reform. But what we're trying to do is to remind people to make clear to people what it is that reform really is. Look, Nigel Farage owns this company, or sorry, he calls it a political party, but it's a company. He owns it, and he's clearly done almost no due diligence on who he's asking to carry his message. And there's an absolute pattern on this. This isn't a single incident or a single candidate. This is an absolute pattern. You just need to look at what's happened. You know, there's one of the candidates is calling for the slaughter of migrants. I mean, it's absolutely horrific. Another is calling on an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, saying that Jews are agitating to import third world Muslims. I mean, frankly, that's a very, very old blood libel. And then another has said that women are the sponging gender who should be deprived of healthcare. I'm afraid there is a real pattern of racist and misogynistic views in the party. And I think it's absolutely right to call it out. I think not only is Steve right, but I think the Prime Minister is right. And I think the way that the Prime Minister spoke about it, you know, is completely correct. He quite rightly identified, look, he's not just the Prime Minister. He is the father of two young girls who should not have to put up with this kind of racial abuse to their father or indeed to anybody else. It's really horrific language.
So then, just very briefly, Mr. Tugendhat, I know we have to let you go. Are you feeling energised about these last 5 or 6 days of the campaign, or will you be glad to see the back of it?
I love elections, and one of the things I love about elections is you get around and you meet an awful lot of people, and I've had fantastic conversations on the doorstep. Look, not everyone has gone my way, but you know, you meet really, really interesting people, and I absolutely love campaigns. So I'm looking forward to the last few days.
Thank you very much for your time. Good to speak to you.
Thank you.
That's Security Minister Tom Tugendhat.